Welcome to Urban Sociology and Social Movements. Today we're going to discuss about the role of technology in social movement as a topic. Firstly, I will explain the relationship between the social movement and technology, and then I will discuss about the key things I've learned in the technology and social movement from the prescribed readings, the lecture, and other additional source of information like YouTube videos that I found more interesting for this content. And lastly, I will conclude with the key important points for this presentation. Maybe you are wondering how the social movement and technology work together. Then let's find out. Relationship between the social movement and technology. The social movement are the social network forms of collective action that arise in response of the feeling injustice or outrage, and they are motivated by the desire of change with digital technologies such as internet and social media. And these digital technologies are serve as a critical tool of organization, communication, and mobilization. As Castle argued that the internet is crucial for modern protest and movement, this is because it facilitates the rapid organization, the real-time communication, and the decentralized coordination and allow for spontaneous horizontal movements where people can gather a quick and react emotion to a bad situation. The first three things that I've learned about the role of technology in social movement. The first one is the crucial role of social media outreach, emotions, and hope, supported by the digital technologies to drive the social movements. The second one is that I have learned that digital technologies have fundamentally transformed the organization and the strategy of the contemporary social movements. From there, I understand how social media creates a space for horizontal communication where everyone can contribute equally. Lastly, I've learned that while digital technologies facilitate repeat mobilization, but they do not necessarily support the long-term impact or planning.
In social movements, technology like social media acts as a dual emotional engine for activism to spread moral outrage and foster collective hope. It connects participants to a shared vision and maintains engagement beyond single protests. So, outrage motivates people to act when they see injustice or suffering, and hope gives them the belief that change is possible through collective effort. From there, social media platforms became a powerful tool for mobilizing people to take action against injustices such as inequality, exclusion, and violent issues. For example, when users see friends or influencers upset online, it feels like an emotional call to action, so they share the post, comment, or join protests the same day. Manuel Castells labels this phenomenon as tactical swarming. Furthermore, decentralized crowds converge rapidly on protest sites after outraged cues propagate through hashtags and livestream alerts. However, in social media platforms, if movement posts only show anger and never share small wins or next steps, people get tired and burn out within days. Therefore, this is where Hope Network enters and provides participants with a sense that collective action can yield concrete outcomes, such as policy reforms or community improvements. Digital tools for cultivating hope include story formats like Facebook, TikTok Reels, or Instagram Stories, allow activists to document incremental successes and foster peer-to-peer encouragement. Closed messaging groups like WhatsApp serve as support networks, where participants exchange encouragement and practical tips. As Manuel Castells mentions that hope also mitigates slacktivism. This helps to understand that hope in social media activism helps people's passive online engagement to offline participation by providing clear, small goals like signing a petition or joining a protest in physical spaces. This is where movements share success stories and next step instructions to turn passive likes into concrete offline actions. Tufek ACI, 2014, expands on this idea, arguing that social media doesn't just spread information, it reshapes public discourse. From this, I learned that social media has transformed public discourse by allowing grassroots voices to define issues on their terms, fostering global solidarity and shared purpose. For example, hashtag Fees Must Fall enabled South African students to frame their fight for free education in a global context, drawing solidarity protests from London to New York.
I will explain more about the second key point that stood up to me. So I learned that the reframing of local struggles within global conversations, social media hashtags have become powerful tools for constructing collective identity and sustaining momentum in the digital age. Horizontal communication refers to the way people in a movement communicate directly with each other, on an equal level, without needing leaders, central authorities, or top-down control. It's where everyone can speak and be heard. Also include interactive and decentralized, where there is no single chain of command or hierarchy. This stands in contrast to vertical communication, which includes top-down and one-way communication where the audience listens or receives, with little feedback or input. Now let's find out how digital technologies enable horizontal communication. Since social media and digital platforms make it easy for thousands, even millions, of people to share information instantly, respond in real time, and coordinate actions without waiting for instructions from a central figure. For me, this is an advantage of horizontal communication. Why? It's because it is inclusivity, meaning that anyone can participate, regardless of status or location, and it also empowers people to feel more ownership and involvement in the movement. For example, in the Occupy Wall Street movement, decisions were made through public assemblies and consensus, not by leaders. During the Arab Spring, protesters used Twitter and Facebook to share updates, organize protests, and build solidarity, all without needing a formal structure. Movements can dissolve quickly without long-term political strategies. This means that many digital movements begin with spontaneous outrage, a protest against injustice or crisis, and grow rapidly. But because they are often loosely organized and reactive, they may lack a clear vision, structure, or plan for what comes next after the protest. The problem is that without long-term goals, policy proposals, or political alliances, movements may lose momentum once the energy fades or media attention moves on. Real change, like legislation, policy reform, or institutional change, requires sustained pressure, organization, and planning, which many spontaneous, networked movements struggle with. For example, the Occupy Wall Street movement powerfully exposed economic inequality, but it struggled to translate that into concrete policy demands or institutional reforms. The lack of centralized leadership can hinder negotiation or formal change. This means that many digital-era movements reject traditional leadership to keep power distributed and inclusive. This can make the movement more democratic and harder to suppress. However, there is an underlying issue on this because governments, institutions, and media often expect leaders to negotiate with someone who can speak for the group, make decisions, or sign agreements. Without leadership, it's difficult to present unified demands or participate in formal political processes. For example, in some Arab Spring uprisings, after dictators fell, opposition movements fractured because they had no clear leadership or shared post-revolution plan. The repressive regimes may adapt by monitoring, censoring, or controlling online spaces. How? This is because while digital tools can spread messages fast, they also leave digital traces, which authoritarian governments can exploit. States have increasingly developed sophisticated surveillance technologies, internet shutdowns, and laws targeting online dissent. However, activists can be tracked, arrested, or intimidated. Internet access can be cut off during key protest moments. Social media platforms may remove activist content under pressure or as part of content moderation policies. For example, in Iran, China, and Egypt, governments have used both mass surveillance and digital censorship to track activists, disrupt protests, or spread state propaganda online. Furthermore, digital networks are powerful tools for awakening consciousness and sparking action, but they are not a substitute for strategic planning, leadership structures, even if collaborative, long-term organization, legal and political engagement. So, I learned that while digital movements can start strong, they face real-world political, structural, and technological obstacles that can limit their lasting impact unless they evolve beyond the digital sphere. In conclusion, while digital technologies have revolutionized the way social movements mobilize by enabling rapid, wide-reaching engagement, they often fall short in developing long-term political strategies, which limits their lasting impact. The reliance on horizontal communication, though inclusive, can result in fragmentation and a lack of coordinated action. Additionally, increased government surveillance and control over digital spaces expose activists to significant risks, undermining their efforts. To achieve meaningful and enduring change, modern movements must effectively integrate online and offline activism, yet sustaining this fusion remains one of their most pressing and unresolved challenges.